Hey guys, so if you haven't listened to our last episode yet, make sure to go back and listen to that one first, because this is actually our first two-part podcast.
Yeah, and we want you to be on point.
Someday Your Prince Will Be in Effect was originally aired in 1990 as a 1-hour episode, but for syndication purposes, it was broken up into 2 half-hour episodes. That's how we know the show, that's how we love the show, so we're going to break it up into 2 episodes as well. So things might not make sense if you haven't listened to the previous podcast yet. So, go ahead, stop this one, go back, listen to the previous one, then come back and listen to this one, because it's going to be great. You know what else? The last one was great. And all the other ones are great too. So make sure to tell your friends to listen and listen yourself, because we're doing this all for you.
Yeah. I don't have anything else to add.
All right, then let's just jump right into the episode.
Let's go. And you lose your footing.
But the best thing about what happens here is Will and Carlton reach Melinda at the exact same time.
Wonderful TV moment.
Absolutely. And then, of course, we cut to commercial.
Mm-hmm.
But when we come back, we have got the best crux to cram in as many flashbacks as we possibly can.
Yeah.
And so we start off with one of my favorite flashbacks.
What flashback would that be?
Wade in the water.
One of my favorite flashbacks.
Wade in the water, children. Will is sneaking in at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And he's playing 5-card draw with Granny.
Mm-hmm.
And he is losing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's all because Carlton would not hang out with his own grandmother.
Yeah. I mean, they are using these flashbacks to show just how nice of a person Will is. Now, if you notice, the majority of the flashbacks are not so much to show that Carlton's a nice person. They're either meant to show that Will is a nice person or that Will is a jerk.
Yeah, because Carlton immediately brings up their arrest.
And as he should, because let's be honest, that was kind of a dick move on Will's part.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know, if my friend gets me arrested, you know, you lose like a lot of points.
Yeah, that is the truth. Now, the big thing about clip shows is that they are usually very selective about the things that they choose, not really accentuating the fact, as Carlton obviously doesn't want to, that Will was not really the reason that they got arrested. No. I mean, that was very much Carlton's fault.
Yeah. And I mean, he still can't come to terms with it.
Not at all.
But it was just a perfect moment for him to use Will's antics against him.
Yes, but Will, he, again, used the opportunity to say what a rock he was in jail and how he helped Carlton by singing spirituals. Little... When Israel was in Egypt's land.
Let my people go.
Clap your hands, slap your thighs.
It never gets old.
No, it really doesn't.
Look, he might have only been like in 2 minutes of the whole entire episode, but he's one of my favorite characters.
Bob just really wins it all.
Yeah.
And we love you, Bob. Bob,
you might still be in jail, but we still love you.
And you have an open opportunity to come and sing any song you like on this podcast anytime you like.
Please do.
Please do, by all means.
You and Andrew can have a duet, and it would be classic.
Sounds good. You tell me what. You want to do the confrontation from Les Miserables? You want to do I Know Him So Well from Chess? Yeah, that's right. You name the duet. You and me are doing it.
I love it.
But the writers clearly looked at this and said, all right, we can have a little bit of fun with this. We can do some flashbacks that never happened.
Oh, yeah.
So they created all new flashbacks.
Oh, yeah.
Where
we see that, you know, as we know, Carlton is pre-law.
Yes.
And the one thing we know about lawyers is they're lenient with the truth.
Well, more importantly, they're very big on rules.
Yeah.
And nothing in the rules of this bet said that Will or Carlton weren't allowed to lie.
No.
So Carlton comes up with a great lie about Will.
Yeah.
He's on a date. He doesn't want to buy his date any dinner. He gets her a Slurpee.
And he eats man food.
Which is a burger and fries.
Yeah.
And then some thugs show up because Will doesn't want to pay for a taxi.
No.
And they walk down a dark alley. And the thugs say, "You either give us your money or give us your girl."
And Will says, "You're making this too easy."
Throws the girl right at them.
And then what happens?
Carlton all of a sudden becomes Moonwalker.
Mm-hmm.
And they clearly were on a budget for this because he's in full Michael Jackson Smooth Criminal regalia, but they don't play Smooth Criminal.
No.
It's a sound-alike.
Yeah.
It sounds a lot like it, but you're listening to it, not unlike the theme song of So Fresh, So Prince, and it says, that kind of sounds like Smooth Criminal, but something is a little off.
It's more like Smooth Misdemeanor. Or Rough Misdemeanor.
Yeah.
Something like that.
But this is where Carlton finally gets to be cool in his own mind.
And this is the moment where Will realizes, okay, we've entered a new game. So he pulls Carlton to the side. And as you've said, there's nothing in the rule book saying we can't lie. And so, tap back in to Melinda. All right. So Will says, "Oh, we can lie. All right, Carlton, you want to go down this road. Let's just see how far down this road you're willing to go." So Will wants to paint a picture of how extravagant his life is and how he's just such a good guy.
Does he ever paint a picture?
So we cut back to Will trying so hard to get his homework done because he's got to be a good student. And Mr. Jackson is at the door. Please tell Michael to come back. I got to finish my homework. But it's not Michael. It's Bo Jackson.
Absolutely.
And Bo is having a problem.
And he is Will's close personal friend.
Yeah.
So when he needs to learn how to cook a dinner, he calls Will Smith.
And who does Will Smith call? He calls his friend, Heavy D.
Who just happens to be in the Banks' kitchen.
Because that's just what happens.
Because he's in there cooking diddly, 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 diddly.
Yeah, and you know, I love this moment because if any, look, like I said, before 95, you get it. After 95, just Google it. Bo don't know diddly.
Bo Jackson was one of the few athletes who was able to successfully play multiple sports. He was both a football player and a baseball player. And unlike Michael Jordan, who attempted to have a baseball career unsuccessfully after he retired from basketball, Bo was actually quite accomplished in both.
Yes, he ran up a wall to catch a ball to make sure that there was no home run.
And so when people were going around saying Bo knows, they weren't talking about any Bo besides Bo Jackson.
Yeah. And it was wonderful because when Bo Jackson was talking to Heavy D, he said, "Bo don't know diddly." And if you know Heavy D, you know that's his favorite word in his own mind dictionary. And he goes on to go diddly diddly D. I'm not even going to attempt to do it because I don't have that inflection.
Who would you say is the modern equivalent of Heavy D? Is there a modern equivalent of Heavy D? Because there was a time where in the hip-hop community there were several men who were of a slightly heftier nature.
Yeah.
Notorious B.I.G.
Yeah.
Heavy D, Fat Joe. You know, they were heavy men, but we don't see that as much anymore.
No, yeah, I think there was only one heavy.
Yeah.
The only person who would come somewhat close would be a early Twista.
Okay. All right.
And, you know, he kind of faded out years ago. But, I mean, you know, there's only one heavy.
And heavy he is.
Yeah, and as Bo Jackson was acting Heavy D to show him how to whip up something, you know, we get back to Will getting to his homework, which he really loves. And this brings about one of my favorite moments.
This is the most meta moment of the series so far.
Yeah.
Because right off the bat, there were immediately going to be comparisons between The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and The Cosby Show, both of which were on the air at the same time. The Cosby Show came first.
Yes.
And at the same time as The Fresh Prince came on, they actually added a cousin from out of town who came to live with the Cosby family.
Mm-hmm.
And The Fresh Prince was notorious for adding in Theo moments.
And you want to know what happened?
We get a real-life Theo moment when
We
Malcolm
literally
Jamal Warner...
have a Theo moment from Theo.
He shows up, but it's one of those weird things because he doesn't... Everyone else who we see in this episode, they actually show up on set.
Yeah.
Theo, he's clearly calling from the Cosby Show set.
Clearly.
So, I mean, this was a scenario where Brandon Tartikoff and Warren Littlefield, they were like, all right, we're going to make this little crossover happen, but we don't want to really, really push it. So, Cosby Show's done shooting for the day. Okay. Bill, Felicia, yeah, you guys can all go home. Malcolm, stay behind for a moment. We wanna shoot one more quick thing. Can you shoot this little conversation that you're gonna have with Will Smith that we're gonna put in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? No. Trust me, it's fine. You can do that.
Okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
And he, like everyone else, talks about how great it is to have Will as his close personal friend.
Yeah. And as soon as the wonderful Theo moment is over, we dive deeper because being the Fresh Prince, you can't just stop there.
Of course not.
You gotta have one more guest. And Quincy Jones comes in and is distraught because he needs help with this record that he just cannot finish.
He needs a singer. He needs Will to come on and sing this track.
And this is when we learn that Will was responsible for helping Mr. Jones finish Thriller.
Which doesn't quite work out time-wise because Will is 17 right now. It's 1990. Thriller was, what, 1985?
It was definitely around the time where he was an adolescent.
Hold on. What year did Thriller come out?
Thriller was released on November 30th, 1982.
Okay, so...
So clearly...
Thriller was released in 1982. We're in 1990 right now. Will is 17, which means he finished Thriller, according to this story, when he was 11.
Yeah.
So he was younger than Michael Jackson was when the Jackson 5 were at their prime, when he came in and helped Quincy finish Thriller.
Yeah, and I mean, this is where just Will is the consummate professional liar, because you would really believe that before Google. Just saying. So his answer was, I'm going to call a friend. Hey, Quincy needs some help. He's in a jam.
Yep.
And I always come to his rescue. Can you be in the house in 30 seconds?
Yep.
Because you're just that close.
Absolutely.
And like I said, post 95ers, you're going to have to Google this. He brings in a singer named Albie Shore.
Tell us a little bit about Albie Shore, Lorenzo.
Albie Shore, he had a unibrow, and a flat top Jerry curl, and he was a singer with a very high pitch range. Yeah, and he had some hits.
Okay.
That's all we really need to know about Albie Shore.
All right. But that's the big thing about Quincy Jones and Albie Shore that they have in common is that they need to stop whatever they're doing because they look at their watch and they see it's 8:30 at night and they need to watch a different world.
Wait. You said a different world?
I said a different world.
I got that. Hey, Kay, come in here. And as we go deeper down this lie rabbit hole,
Yep.
Mr. Kadeem Hardison
the star of A Different World.
is just hanging out.
A Different World, one of the greatest sitcoms of the 1990s. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kadeem Hardison, yep, just chilling out inside of the Fresh Prince's house.
And how they met was because,
No. You nor I cannot do this justice.
Okay.
We
right.
can't.
We can't?
There's only one way to do this appropriately.
Okay, you're going to have to tell me.
We are going to have to do another episode of Fresh Prince Theater.
Theater?
Fresh Prince Theater.
Theater.
So, you will be playing the role of Kadeem Hardison.
Yes. I will be Kadeem. Yes, Kadeem.
So
okay.
I will play the role of Quincy Jones.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Kadeem, how'd you guys meet?
Well, it was the biggest game of the season. The Giants, they were up by 5. Randall Cunningham had been knocked out by Lawrence Taylor. The Eagles were desperate. They had nowhere to go. They knew that there was only one man in Philadelphia to be called into this situation. They looked in the stands, and there he stood, Will Smith. He came down, got in the game, and threw a 72-yard touchdown pass to himself in street clothes. When the game was over, the crowd went crazy. They mobbed and pulled and ripped and pulled him. He broke away. He ran and gave the game ball to this little kid standing on the sideline with tears in his eyes. And that little kid was me. NC. So, as you said, Will finished Thriller when he was 11.
Yes.
Apparently he went pro.
Yep.
Somewhere in between 11 and 17.
Yes, he did.
And threw a 72-yard pass to himself.
As you do.
As a professional Eagle. So, Carlton, I don't think he was ready for this lie brigade.
No. I mean, one thing we know about Will is that he lies much better than Carlton does.
Yeah.
In fact, this is probably the first time in the entire series that we've seen Carlton lie about anything.
Yeah. Carlton, he jumped on the dark side for about a half second.
Yep, he did. But how does Will end this immaculate story? Everyone is singing Kumbaya.
Yeah. And it was an awkward Kumbaya.
It was a really awkward Kumbaya.
Because he was the only one singing it. Quincy didn't even look like he wanted to sing at first.
And you pair that with the fact that we're supposed to believe that Will is this fantastic singer that Quincy needs. And I was not quite sure that you could call Will singing in key.
No, it wasn't a key. It just wasn't a good key.
It wasn't. It was in several keys.
Yeah.
Which is generally frowned upon when you're singing.
Yeah. You should pick like 1 or 2 keys that are adjacent and stick with them.
Or just stay in C major.
Yeah, well, just pick a key and stay there. But Will, being the wonderful person that he was in this episode, he decided to sing in all of the keys at once.
Because he's just that giving.
Yeah.
So as we cut back after his singing, Melinda just looks at them and says, "You both seem like great guys.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I'm just going to have to rely on my initial feeling about how I felt when I looked at the two of you." And she chooses Carlton.
And Will loses.
And mugs to the camera.
Again.
And this is only about 2 seconds, because then we cut back to Hillary and Ashley. Now, for whatever reason, Hillary has forgotten that Ashley had a derby on her head. They did not pay for that derby.
Even though they paid for everything else.
Which was an entire heap of clothing.
Mm-hmm.
And which surprisingly fit into very few bags.
Yeah, because it's TV. It's like the Mary Poppins bag. It's just never-ending bottoms.
And mind you, when they were paying for everything, you would think that Hillary's personal shopper would say, oh, that hat that she's wearing. Did she want to pay for that? There is clearly a label on it.
No. But I mean, as they walk out, they realize that the hat is stolen. And the security guard, obviously, he has to be new.
Yes.
Because he doesn't know Hillary.
Exactly.
Because obviously everybody in that store knows Hillary.
Absolutely.
And Daddy's credit card.
Yes. Mind you, security guard Eugene, played by Tim Russ, fantastic actor, best known from the Star Trek universe as Tuvok in Star Trek Voyager.
The more you know. See, you learn on this podcast. We don't just entertain, we educate.
As we strive to do.
Yes.
One of these days we'll get a grant from the government because we're just educating people on the history of the history.
Yes.
So, Eugene, he takes Hillary and Ashley to mall jail. And Uncle Phil seems to get them out very, very quickly because when he goes to find Aunt Viv, who I don't know how you don't find her with all the noise that she's making, because by this point she is still at the recording booth.
Well, outside of the recording booth, because
in the
it's now
general vicinity of the recording booth.
It's become a live show, everybody. You know how you come into the booth? Well, she stepped out of the booth as Superman now, and she's just singing her heart out and her hair out at this point.
She's singing Proud Mary.
Oh, yeah.
Now, when we find her, as you know about Proud Mary, the song starts off nice and easy, and then it gets a little hard. We skip past the nice and easy part altogether, and Aunt Viv, she is, hands in the air, hands down by her waist. They're just everywhere. And Uncle Phil, he just has to physically grab her and remove her. But that leads to the real question. Did she get any of her recordings to take home?
She might not own her masters right now. But the Aunt Viv album might be out there, and she might not have any royalties for it.
And she might have paid $8.95 3 times, and nothing to show for it.
Such a shame. Such a shame. But she put on a great show.
Meanwhile, Will has gone back to the initial restaurant, and Cindy, the waitress, just happens to still be his waitress and gives him a peanut butter croissant.
That looks like it came off the floor.
But, you take free food.
Of course.
It's a rare person that turns down free food, so Will appreciated the gesture. And one would think, at this point, Will's found a connection with a girl, and he would say to her, maybe you would like to come with me?
No.
Or maybe I could get your phone number? Or here's where I live?
No.
Nope, none of that.
None of the above.
Nope, he just appreciated her kindness, and then he went home and started calling other girls.
Yeah, and I believe the answers were, are you kidding? Do I seem that desperate? And ha 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 ha, ha ha ha.
So Carlton is basking in his victory. Basking.
I'm gonna say bathing and what's another word? Drenched in victory at this point.
He is covered in it, and he is wearing it with all of the bravado.
Yes, he is.
And somehow, when they get home, we find out that Hillary has invited Eugene to this party that she's having tonight.
Well, because it helped her get out of mall jail a little bit faster.
I get, but I mean, what do you think she said? Because Eugene doesn't seem like the kind of guy who would be really moved when you say, oh yeah, the Brat Pack is going to be there. The cast of Twin Peaks is going to be there.
I'm just going to say and this is pure speculation, which I love.
Yep.
Uncle Phil, just coming off of his get Carlton and Will out of jail voice, he might have just echoed a Hillary down the hall, and Eugene might have gotten a little shake in his boots or something like that.
Yep. I'll allow it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Carlton continues to bathe in his victory and just goes up to Will and says, "So, where's your date?" It's like, I got a date.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really? What's her
her
name? Janet Gurley.
Now, you know, as being a competitor myself,
Yes.
you can speak to having your good moments and your bad moments. You know, I think he used up all of his good lies on Melinda, so Janet Gurley was all he had left in his reserve for that day.
Yeah. But what's surprising is that he has shown quite a knack for coming up with better names on the spot, even with the reserves, because this was no Rafael de la Ghetto.
No, you start at the top and you get closer to the bottom, and they just kind of lose their potency. I think Rafael de la Ghetto just took a fourth of it.
Okay. So he just used up the other 75% lying to Melinda.
Yeah, and then he might have just been, when your car hits the E, but you still have some reserve gas left.
Yep.
I think that's where he was at this point. Okay. He'd ran out of lies, names, and just anything. And he had lost to Carlton at this point.
Yeah.
He's at an all-time low for the day.
And he wallows in that while we get to the party.
Yeah.
And we experience the part which the majority of the party seems to be taking place in the living room.
Yeah.
It appears there are a few other people kind of walking around elsewhere, but Hillary's very excited because she's got the Brat Pack there.
Really?
She's got 2 Twin Peakers. Now, again, if you were born pre-95, there were a group of actors that were basically the equivalent of Justin Bieber, Selena Gomez, Carly Rae Jepsen, and One Direction, who just kept showing up in the same movies over and over again, directed by a guy named John Hughes. Definitely look him up.
Google it.
Absolutely. So that was the Brat Pack. If you've seen the Mighty Ducks, Coach Bombay, he was one of them.
Yes.
If you haven't seen the Mighty Ducks, fail.
I don't know what you've done with your life if you haven't seen the Mighty Ducks. They made a real team out of it because of the movie. I mean,
exactly.
We can just move on.
Exactly.
Get your life together.
And Twin Peaks, that's a show that's actually getting a revival on Showtime.
Yeah.
But it was previously very big. So just Google Who Killed Laura Palmer and look up Kyle MacLachlan.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, I've pretty much given up on you post 95 at this point. If you haven't seen Mighty Ducks, I've already just lost hope.
I will not give up on you. I will not.
Watch Mighty Ducks and I'll believe in you.
Okay. So Ashley, despite the fact that she had the ballerina outfit just chilling upstairs, no. She decides she's actually going to go as Charlie Chaplin. And it looks like Eugene was nice enough to give her the derby that she accidentally stole.
Yeah. I mean, Eugene's a nice guy, except for threatening some trick-or-treaters when they come to the door.
Yeah, he shows up at the party in his full mall security guard outfit and starts scaring small children.
I mean, maybe he thought that he wasn't off work yet. Maybe he thought that Hillary asked him there in a capacity like, this isn't your costume. I need you to be security at the door. I don't know.
Anything is possible. Or maybe she just paid him.
I think so.
Okay. I like it. So then we see Will for the first time. And Will is dressed as a pimp.
Superfly.
Superfly specifically. Or, as Hillary refers to him, Elton John.
Yeah.
And Hillary pulls him aside and says, those 2 people over there, that's Elizabeth Montgomery. And that's Kevin Bacon standing next to her, and neither of them appreciate you hitting on them.
Now, I'm just going to go out on a limb and say Will thought Kevin Bacon was beautiful.
Kevin Bacon is beautiful, but the question is, what was he wearing?
I mean, Benny, and please. I mean,
Benny Boomps.
This is the first time I've ever asked you a question specifically. Benny, what was Kevin wearing to make Will Smith hit on him?
Yeah.
I mean, Kevin Bacon is not a horrible looking human being, but then again, he doesn't strike me as feminine or Janet Girly. I don't know. Benny, what was going through your mind when you wrote that?
I mean, tell us, you got to cut loose, footloose.
I saw what you did there.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
So then we see Uncle Phil, who is, not surprisingly, not in a costume.
No, he is.
Well, what is his costume?
He's Comfortable Man.
Oh, okay. Tell me about Comfortable Man.
Comfortable Man has the power to pay bills
And
in one fell swoop.
And Hillary loves that power.
Yes.
And then Hillary turns around and says, "Oh, look, it's River Phoenix and Kiefer Sutherland." And then we cut to two guys in masks. One is dressed as Elvis, and one is dressed as Nixon.
And maybe they couldn't afford... they probably couldn't afford River Phoenix and Kiefer Sutherland at this point.
And that's a very sitcom-y thing to do when it's set in Hollywood.
Oh, yeah.
Where, you mention the actor, you say, "Oh, look, the actor is over there," and then you just don't show him.
I just want to know what those actors felt like. Because, as you get cast for certain things, it's like, you're going to be this character. It's like, okay, we need you to stand there and be River Phoenix. Go.
And what do you do at that point?
I don't know. Now, the real question is, one was Elvis and one was Nixon, right? So, which one was River and which one was Kiefer?
I'm actually looking that up right now. Hold on.
And I just want to make a side note. Somebody came as part of Fruit of the Loom. Yeah, I saw grapes. I didn't see a banana or any other fruit. I just think you might be a very weird person if you show up to Halloween parties in grapes or as a bunch of grapes. Just throwing that out there. You can take it, you can leave it. If you don't like that, you can throw it right back. And let us not forget that Aunt Viv, with her newfound stardom and voice, decided to not break character after leaving the mall and came to the party as Tina Turner.
Nope, can't find anything. Okay. So yeah, I don't know what was going through these extras' heads other than, oh, wait, I get to make $50 today and they're going to put me in a funny costume and I'm going to be on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, a show I really haven't heard of at this point because they shot all of these shows out of order before they even aired and then mishmashed them around.
But the craft services were great.
I'm sure they were fantastic.
Mm-hmm. James Avery was eating well.
And as he should.
Yeah.
You do not maintain that booming baritone without some sustenance.
No. Nor that physique.
Amen. So, Aunt Viv, she comes down to the party and she's still singing. And Uncle Phil, well, he initially says, "Oh no, I'm going to get a headache," until he sees her dress.
And he finds out that she is Miss Anna Mae Tina Turner herself.
And Aunt Viv even says, "Can you guess what I'm dressed as?" And Uncle Phil says,
"I don't care, you look amazing."
And Uncle Phil is happy.
Yes.
Probably the first time we've seen him happy this entire episode.
Yeah.
Now, this is where we start to get into what I call the fairy tale section of the episode.
Insert glitter.
Because Jeffrey walks in and he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Cinderella."
Extremely cheeky.
Incredibly cheeky. And a very attractive girl shows up in a big, flowy white dress wearing a tiara.
Mm-hmm.
And she immediately looks at Will and says, "Is my prince here?" And Will just kind of, with dropped jaw, nods and comes over to her and says, "Do I know you?"
Well, of course you know her. It's Cindy.
She says, "Give a guy your last peanut butter croissant and he'll forget you in a minute."
Ladies, keep your peanut butter croissant to yourself unless he says he loves you. God, learn from Cindy.
But Will's happy.
Yeah.
Will's got a date. She's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. And he wants to keep her for the next 50 years.
Yeah. I don't know quite how she got there.
Nor how she found out where the party was.
Yep, there was no number exchange.
No.
But magic.
Yeah.
TV magic. And Carlton, he comes over and says flat out, "Well, you know what? You are perfectly allowed to be as happy as you want that you now have a date.
Mm-hmm.
However, that does not change the fact that you lost the bet."
'Cause I got a date before you.
Exactly. Or did he?
Now we later find out Eugene stayed on the job. And he caught the shoplifter that he mistook Hillary for. And do you want to know who the shoplifter really was?
Tell us, Lorenzo, who was it?
It was Melinda.
Dun, dun, dun!
So technically, Carlton didn't even win.
No, because she only agreed to go on a date with him because he was the richer one.
Yeah.
And it would be easier to steal. And boy, did she ever try to steal. She showed up with her little red sack that Mrs. Claus has.
Yeah.
And filled it with Aunt Viv's silverware. Which I feel like probably would have gotten him grounded.
Yeah, you bring a thief into the house. I think you're going to be grounded for a couple of weeks.
Yeah. I can see that. But fortunately, that won't affect whether or not he'll get into Harvard.
No. I mean, that doesn't go quite on the resume. We leave the dates off.
Absolutely.
And it's funny because after Carlton finds out his date has used him for silverware. So cheap.
Yes.
I mean, at least a Rolex.
Yeah.
You know, a real Rolex, because they do have money. He retreats to his room, and we find out that Ashley and Will are the only two left ready to clean up. And Will, being Will, he takes this opportunity because some random trick-or-treaters come.
Whoa. Hold on. We're jumping really
Okay,
quickly.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Because now Will has a date.
No?
Will has Cindy. And he doesn't really know anything about Cindy. They just had a very brief conversation. And they're sitting there and they're talking. And Cindy's life is very similar to that of Cinderella. She lives with her stepmother and two stepsisters.
In Encino.
She has to work at the restaurant all day. And there was this old woman who showed up at the restaurant, which is how she got the dress and found out where the house was that the party was at. And then the clock strikes midnight.
And you know, I mean, we all know the Cinderella story. So she runs out.
Forgets her shoe.
And Will looks straight into the camera after he picks up the shoe.
Could it be? Do I have to go all over the land to find the love of my life?
No.
No.
She comes back for the shoe.
And then hands him her phone number and says, "Call me tomorrow."
Yeah. And we couldn't go too fairy tale on that one.
No. This is a sitcom.
Yeah.
So then Carlton goes up to his room and Will and Ashley stay behind to do all the cleaning up.
Now, my only question is, after the party is clearly over, and I'm going to guess that Hillary throws some raging parties.
Of course.
So I'm going to say it's clearly after midnight because we know Cinderella left.
Yes.
What kind of trick-or-treaters do they have in Bel Air where they have hordes of kids at I'm gonna say at 1:30 in the morning, trick-or-treating.
More importantly, why is Ashley still awake?
It's a party. She's at home.
Okay.
Come on, give her some slack.
You're correct. I agree. They should have long been in bed.
I mean, that had some semblance of continuity there.
Paired with the fact that when they're out of candy, Will then offers them the opportunity to come in and listen to a scary story. And despite the fact that there is an adult with them, he doesn't say, "Oh, no, we don't know you."
They just walk in.
They just walk in, and they're very, very happy.
And the adults disappear somewhere as soon as Will starts telling the story.
Which, to his credit, Will tells the story in rhyme.
Yes, he does.
And I was very impressed to see that, because it was a good story. It was about the Bel Air Beast.
I feel like Benny Booms was his crowning moment. I feel like when he handed Will that scene, he just felt so accomplished. Will, what do you think about this? You like it? I wrote it. I could be a rapper too, right?
And what a writer Benny Booms became.
Yes, he that was an amazing rhyme.
And right at the end of his story, Will looks up and yells, "Oh my God, it's the Bel Air Beast!"
And it's Carlton.
Of course it is.
Because he reeks of Polo Cologne.
Now, he's showered by this point, obviously. He doesn't look like a vampire. So it's just Carlton there.
Yeah.
And the kids see him, and they run, and then freeze frame. And that's the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I mean, I think at the end of this episode, you kind of ran out of things to do. You did everything.
Literally and figuratively.
Like, you couldn't tell any more jokes. You couldn't write any more storylines. Couldn't build any more characters. There was no easy way to end this.
No.
You couldn't even ended it with a laugh track.
I'm just baffled by this episode more than anything else, because, I mean, did they try to do product placement with a mall? I mean, I would really like to know. And we looked. We couldn't find any background.
I mean, I even looked up the statue that was in front of the mall. I don't even remember what mall that might be. It might have just been like one of those stock pictures in Walmart. You know, you get the frames with the pictures in it.
Yep.
It just might have been, here is a mall. It doesn't exist, but it's a mall. I mean, I'm pretty sure they had to shoot it in a very reputable mall because they had a Sam Goody there and all of the letters worked.
Yes.
So it had to be a good mall. It had to.
And the biggest thing to know about this is a 2-part episode that originally aired as a 1-hour special.
Yeah.
For syndication purposes, which is how we came to love the show.
Yeah.
They broke it up into 2 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And it is just a wild ride because they just crammed everything into it. This has the feel of one of those very special episodes.
Yeah, and it's episode 8?
8 and 9. Although it was the 10th episode that was shot.
Yeah, I think by now you would have thought they would have found their groove, but they didn't even throw spaghetti at the wall. They just threw all of the spaghetti in the air and saw what fell.
Because the only thing that they could have added in this episode that I would have loved to have seen was the dance-off between Will, Carlton, and Paula Abdul.
They might have ran out of the budget for that one. But you are right. That would have been amazing.
Yes.
And the Chester Cat. Let's not forget Paula Abdul always walked with that Chester Cat.
MC Scat Cat. He's the man.
Yeah. Now that's what they should have had outside of Sam Goody. That's what, see what happens when we go down speculation road, people?
Yep. Should have been MC Scat Cat and Paula Abdul. Will rushes the stage and MC Scat Cat just throws him off.
And Scat Cat should have gotten all the girls.
Every last one.
See, Benny, this is why you need us.
So, after all of that, Renzo, what do we take away from this episode?
We take away a lot of everything. We take away derbies from stores. I think we just take away that it's very difficult for Will and Carlton to get girls at this point. You know, Carlton, he dates a thief. Mm-hmm. Carlton will go on to date some other questionable females that are very weird. Will go on to date some very weird people.
Yes.
But they will be beautiful. Oh, you know, it's just, I'd like to say the law of tenths, you know?
Okay.
You know, Carlton, he has a tenth of the bravado that a normal person has, so it's going to be hard for him to get anybody. And Will, you know, he asks out so many people that he's going to get a tenth of the dates. He's going to get 90% slaps.
Okay.
And it's just too much. It's too much to focus on. But yeah.
Okay.
What did we learn from this?
Be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Don't lie.
And if you're going to lie, do it well.
Do it very well. Recognize that if a beautiful woman wants to go out on a date with you and this is the first time that's ever happened and you really don't have any game and you're competing with Will Smith and you win, she's probably going to steal one of your kidneys.
Oh, okay. That's deep. She's going to steal a piece of you, not your heart.
No. Well, the goal is to keep you alive.
Yeah.
Because if you steal someone's kidney, that's theft, which is not quite as bad as murder.
So if you do it in the mall, is it still considered shoplifting?
Yes.
Okay.
I am making that canon.
All right.
And so it is written.
I agree with you.
All right. So do we need to cover anything else?
No, I think Benny covered everything.
Now, do we want to go out tonight on a different theme song like they did at the end of this episode? Because Quincy Jones, he actually recorded a new song that was the titular song of the episode. It was called Someday Your Prince Will Be in Effect, the title of this episode.
And you know what? Quincy did a really good job on this one.
He did.
I mean, the original credits, they're great.
Yep.
They're fun. But this one was Quincy. Quincy did a really good job.
Yes, he did.
I mean...
All right.
Yeah. Slow clap for Quincy.
Whatever he accomplished with I'll Be Sure was a masterpiece.
Yeah. And I think Albie finally got rid of that unibrow after that.
Yep, he discovered wax.
He donated it to Quincy's front hairline.
All right, I think that does it for this episode.
Well, guys, I'm thoroughly exhausted because there was so much that happened in this episode. I swear, I don't know how it missed me the first time, but it did.
Yeah,
I was not aware that all of these things had happened, but I'm worn out, guys. Man.
But we do it all for you.
Yes.
We're just happy that you're listening. So please, do us a solid. If you're listening to us on iTunes, rate us 5 stars. Leave a nice comment. It helps other people find the joy that you're experiencing listening to this episode. If you're on SoundCloud, subscribe to our channel. Like us on there. Make sure to tell your friends. If you're on social media, like us on Facebook, facebook.com/SoFriendSoPrince. Follow us on Twitter @SoFreshSoPrince. Follow us on Instagram @SoFreshSoPrince. Follow us on Tumblr, SoFreshSoPrince.tumblr.com. Or if you need to send something that's a little longer than fits in a tweet, email us at SoFreshSoPrince@gmail.com. There are so many ways to get in touch with us.
So there's really no reason for you to not do it.
Exactly.
And look, you know, I have some renewed faith in our post 95ers.
Yes.
Send me some things, you know, send us some things that you enjoyed about this episode, that you enjoyed about the show.
Or things that you enjoy about the Mighty Ducks.
Please watch the Mighty Ducks. Gordon Bombay is just amazing.
Quack, 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 quack.
just I want to believe in my post 95ers. All my pre 95ers, I love you.
And
Keep
all of
the
our
day
post
glow going.
95ers, we love you too.
We love you. We just don't love you as much if you haven't seen the Mighty Ducks.
Which is not your fault.
No.
Your parents didn't show it to you, and they haven't made an app out of it yet.
And so I blame it on your parents. Okay, some of you pre 95ers, you might be in the doghouse too. I'm just gonna, guys. It's just so much. We thank you for so much for listening, though. Yeah. Really, we have so much fun doing this. It's amazing. We got to see Carlton do the high step. We got to see Will jump over somebody. We just get to do so many wonderful things, and you get to enjoy it. So please contact us in any way possible.
Relive the episodes with us.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for listening. And whatever you do, in every way you do it, make sure you stay so fresh.
So Prince.
Peace.
Goodbye.
So Fresh, So Prince is a Bitten from the Apple production, produced by Andrew Apple and Lorenzo Gordon. Music by Griffey Major.